security guard let him walk. You get paid he get paid to protect that security guard. It's unfishy with him. That's why he deleted his Instagram. I definitely feel like it's foul play. I don't know where it's coming from, but I think it's...
Officials confirmed one of the 3 people was rapper King Von from Chicago, who was here last night with friends.
The internet thought it had already seen everything about King Von's final night. Every angle, every theory, every argument beaten into the ground. Then new footage surfaced, and suddenly the timeline went silent in that uncomfortable way it does when jokes stop landing. This wasn't another recycled clip with a louder caption. This felt different. This felt like a secret someone was never supposed to leak. 1 Minute fans were scrolling past throwback posts and lyric quotes. The next minute group chats were blowing up with the same message. Have you seen this? And just like that, a case everyone thought was settled got dragged back into the spotlight like it never left.
I'm gonna give you this. It's a back door and I got all the pieces. That's all I'm gonna tell you. As Dirk asked Vonnie, is it open? Vonnie told him it's off the hinges.
Wait. Are you talking about the Von? Like King Von?
Listen very carefully. When the payment was made to Little Tim, the next day or the same day, Dirk asked Vonnie, was it open? This is what he asked him. Was it open? It was the exact words, was it open? He told him it's off the hinges.
Are you saying that Vonnie backdoor King Von? No way. That was right here.
You heard what I just said. Guess what? You need motive first, right? I got bankers. I got bankers that'll testify that or will make a contract or make a statement to you and let you know that this is the amount of money he had, this is what he had, this is that, another. You need motive first and foremost. I got text messages from the lawyer letting you know that who told on Dirk before, who told on Von before.
If closure existed, this footage ripped it wide open. People started saying this changes everything, not because it rewrites history, but because it reframes it. Movements look different. Timing feels off. And moments that once felt understood now raise fresh questions nobody was asking out loud. It's the kind of twist that makes documentaries look outdated overnight. Blogs rush to post it. Comment sections turned into war zones. Everyone suddenly became an expert again, armed with pauses, zoom-ins, and wild confidence. Because when unseen footage surfaces years later, it doesn't just shock, it destabilizes. Stay right here, because once you understand what this clip shows, the entire story hits different. And that's where things get dangerous. Rap Shocker is just getting started. For years, the story around King Von's death felt locked in place. The facts were debated, the narratives hardened, and most people assumed nothing new could surface. Fans argued over the same details on repeat, like a loop that never refreshed. Then this footage appeared, and suddenly that sense of finality evaporated. What makes this clip explosive isn't gore or shock tactics. It's timing, angles, and moments people were never supposed to see. Small details jump out in ways they didn't before, and that's what rattled the timeline. When footage fills gaps, instead of creating them, it forces uncomfortable questions. The leak didn't arrive with context or explanation. It surfaced quietly, passed around in private chats before blogs even caught on. By the time it hit public platforms, the narrative was already cracking. That slow burn made it feel less like content and more like evidence. Fans immediately noticed movements that weren't visible in previous clips. Positions looked different. Reactions felt delayed. Moments once assumed now felt uncertain. The clip didn't scream answers. It whispered doubt, and doubt spreads faster than certainty. The background matters here. King Von's death has always lived at the intersection of street reality and public spectacle. His rise, his image, and his influence meant every detail carried weight. When someone with that presence is lost, people cling to explanations like anchors. This footage challenged those anchors. It didn't contradict everything, but it nudged perspectives just enough to cause instability. People started replaying old interviews, old tweets, old statements, checking them against what they were now seeing. Consistency became the new obsession. Blogs rushed to frame the clip as definitive. Others warned against jumping to conclusions. That split widened instantly. One side claimed the footage exposed overlooked truths. The other argued it was being overanalyzed for clicks. Both sides spoke with confidence. The reaction showed how unresolved the case still feels culturally. Closure was assumed, not achieved. This footage reopened emotional wounds fans didn't realize were still tender. Nostalgia collided with disbelief. And that collision fueled engagement. Artists and industry figures avoided direct commentary at first. Silence hovered over feeds where opinions usually appear fast. When voices hesitate, it signals complexity. Nobody wanted to misstep on something this sensitive. Meanwhile, fans treated the clip like a puzzle. Screenshots circulated with circles, arrows, and timestamps. Every second became a debate. When the internet turns forensic, it means trust in the old narrative is slipping. What unsettled people most was realizing how easily certainty dissolves. One new angle can undo years of assumptions. That's the power of footage that arrives late but lands heavy. This wasn't just about what happened that night. It became about how stories are constructed and who controls them. When unseen material surfaces, it reminds everyone that history is often incomplete by design. The leak also raised questions about why now. Why this clip, after all this time? Was it held back intentionally, forgotten, or newly discovered? Timing fuels suspicion, and suspicion keeps stories alive. Supporters of King Von felt protective and conflicted. Some wanted the truth, no matter how uncomfortable. Others feared reopening narratives that only cause pain. Both reactions came from loyalty, just expressed differently. Critics seized the moment to push old arguments with renewed energy. They framed the footage as confirmation rather than complication. That certainty clashed with the ambiguity the clip actually presented. The more people watched, the less sure they felt. That's what made it powerful. It didn't settle debates, it destabilized them. And destabilization is gasoline in the digital age. By the end of the first wave, one thing was clear. This footage didn't arrive to explain the past. It arrived to challenge how confidently people thought they understood it. And once doubt enters a story this big, it doesn't leave quietly. The clip didn't just circulate, it mutated. Every repost added a new caption, a new theory, a new layer of certainty that wasn't actually there. What started as "look at this angle" turned into "this proves everything." And the internet ran with it like it was allergic to patience. Overnight, timelines turned into courtrooms with 0 judges and unlimited opinions. Memes showed up fast, because that's how people mask discomfort. Some compared the situation to crime documentaries that suddenly need a whole new episode. Others joked that even Hollywood couldn't pitch a twist this late in the story. Humor tried to take control, but it kept slipping, because the undertone was too serious to ignore. Celebrities began reacting indirectly, the way they always do when something feels radioactive. Subtle posts about truth, timing, and things not being what they seem flooded feeds. Nobody wanted to name names, but everybody wanted to be seen acknowledging the moment. Silence wasn't safe, but direct commentary felt dangerous. Fans split into camps almost instantly. One side treated the footage like a smoking gun, insisting it exposed overlooked realities. The other side accused blogs of exploiting tragedy for clicks. Both sides spoke with confidence, and neither side slowed down to verify anything. That tension kept the clip trending longer than expected. What really escalated the outrage was how familiar the arguments felt. People recycled old debates, but spoke as if they were brand new. It was like watching the same conversation rebooted with higher stakes and worse tempers. The footage didn't just reopen wounds, it reminded people they never healed. Pop culture comparisons got wild. People said this was like discovering a lost scene that changes an entire movie's meaning. Others compared it to cold cases being reopened after one overlooked detail resurfaces. Those analogies stuck because they captured the unease, not the facts. Industry figures stayed cautious. When voices that usually jump into controversy hesitate, it sends a message. Nobody wanted to frame themselves on the wrong side of history if this footage shifted understanding permanently. In moments like this, restraint becomes its own statement. Online analysts slowed the clip down frame by frame, convinced the truth lived in milliseconds. Arrows pointed everywhere. Timelines were rebuilt from scratch. Every pause invited interpretation, and interpretation became certainty far too quickly. The louder the claim, the more it spread. The outrage wasn't just about the footage itself, but about trust. Trust in what people had been told. Trust in what they believed they already knew. When trust cracks, people don't just question the story, they question the system around it. Some fans expressed exhaustion instead of anger. They asked why this needed to resurface now, and who benefited from reopening pain. That fatigue clashed with the appetite for answers, creating a strange push and pull. Curiosity versus closure became the central conflict. Blog headlines grew more dramatic by the hour. Each outlet tried to outdo the last with bolder claims and heavier implications. Words like "changes everything" were used freely, even when the details were murky. Sensationalism thrives in uncertainty, and this moment fed it perfectly. Others pushed back hard, accusing platforms of turning tragedy into entertainment again. They argued that new footage doesn't automatically equal new truth. That perspective gained traction, especially among longtime fans who felt protective over King Von's legacy. The debates spilled into music culture itself. Lyrics were reinterpreted. Old interviews resurfaced. People searched for foreshadowing where none may have existed. When a narrative cracks, hindsight becomes a dangerous tool. What made this phase volatile was the speed. There was no time for reflection, only reaction. Algorithms rewarded urgency, not accuracy. The fastest takes rose to the top, while careful voices got buried. That imbalance shaped how the story evolved. The footage became a mirror for larger conversations about violence, fame, and exploitation. Some viewers questioned why such clips circulate at all. Others argued documentation matters, even when it's uncomfortable. That clash added depth, but also friction. King Von's name trended alongside words that hadn't appeared together in years. That alone signaled impact. Moments that feel finished rarely return to the spotlight without resistance. This one didn't ask permission as hours turned into days. Outrage hardened into expectation. People weren't just reacting anymore, they were waiting. Waiting for statements, clarifications, or someone to definitively say what this footage means. That anticipation kept tension alive. The clip stopped being just a clip. It became a catalyst, a spark that reignited debates everyone thought were buried. Whether it truly changed facts or just perception, it changed the conversation permanently. And once the conversation shifts, there's no rewind button. The aftermath didn't explode. It settled in, and that's what made it heavier. Once the clip stopped trending for shock and started being referenced for meaning, the tone changed. This wasn't about reacting anymore. It was about recalibrating. The footage didn't replace the past, it reframed it. And reframing is permanent. King Von's legacy suddenly felt suspended between reverence and reassessment. Supporters spoke more carefully, choosing precision over passion. Critics adjusted their language too, trading hot takes for implications. When both sides slow down, it signals the story has crossed from viral to consequential. The most immediate impact was trust. Trust in timelines, in summaries, in what people thought they already knew. One unseen angle can unravel years of certainty, And certainty doesn't like competition. Once doubt takes a seat at the table, it doesn't leave quietly. Media coverage shifted subtly but noticeably. Headlines grew less declarative, more conditional. Phrases softened. When outlets hedge their language, it means they're waiting. Waiting for verification, for response, for something definitive to land. Artists connected to the culture moved cautiously. Some paid tribute without commentary. Others avoided the topic entirely. In hip-hop, silence can be respect or restraint, and in this moment, it looked like both. Nobody wanted to say the wrong thing in a moment that felt unfinished. Fans started asking different questions. Not who was right, but what was missed. Not what happened, but why did we accept what we were told so easily? Questions cut deeper because they don't have clean answers. The clip also reshaped how future narratives will be handled. Every documentary, every breakdown, every retrospective now carries an asterisk. Viewers will watch with skepticism, knowing unseen material can surface at any time. That awareness changes consumption forever. There's also the ethical weight. People debated whether circulating such footage serves truth or exploits tragedy. That conversation didn't trend as loudly, but it lingered longer. The internet is quick to react and slow to reflect. But reflection always catches up. King Von's name being pulled back into the spotlight came with mixed emotions. Pride, pain, frustration, and protectiveness all collided. For fans who felt closure, this reopened wounds they didn't consent to revisit. For others, it felt like unfinished business demanding attention. The industry impact wasn't loud, but it was real. Conversations behind closed doors matter more than posts. When narratives destabilize, decision-makers pause. Pauses shape outcomes more than outrage ever could. This moment also exposed how narratives are built around absence. When someone can't speak for themselves, footage becomes a surrogate voice. That responsibility carries weight, and mishandling it can distort legacy instead of honoring it. As days passed, the clips stopped being debated and started being cited. That's the transition that matters. When something becomes a reference point, it's embedded. Future arguments will point back to this moment whether it deserves to or not. Some fans chose to disengage. Not out of apathy, but out of self-preservation. Constant re-examination of tragedy has a cost. Others leaned in harder, believing truth demands persistence. Both responses are valid, and both reveal how deeply this cut. The biggest consequence wasn't a conclusion, it was uncertainty. The footage didn't close the book, it removed the bookmark. People now know the story isn't as contained as they believed. That knowledge sticks to comparisons to other late-breaking revelations kept surfacing. Not because they were identical, but because they shared a feeling. That unsettling realization that history can still surprise you. When that happens, confidence drops and caution rises. What happens next matters more than what already happened. Clarifications, confirmations, or contradictions will all land differently now. The audience is primed, alert, and less forgiving of spin. Once skepticism sets in, it doesn't loosen its grip. This clip also reset expectations for future leaks. People will question authenticity, motive, and timing harder than before. The bar for belief just rose. That's a quiet but powerful shift. King Von's story didn't change in facts, it changed in frame. Frames decide how stories are remembered. And once a frame shifts, everything inside it looks different, even if nothing else moves. There's no neat ending here. No definitive takeaway that satisfies everyone. What exists instead is a recalibration of belief, and belief drives culture. That's why this moment matters beyond clicks. The story didn't end, it deepened. And depth is harder to escape than drama. People will keep watching, not for shock, but for clarity. Because once a narrative is shaken this hard, resolution becomes a demand, not a preference. Whether answers arrive or not, the impact is already locked in. This footage didn't rewrite the past, but it rewired how the past is processed, and that's why it truly changed everything. Now, before you scroll like this, didn't just shake everything you thought you knew. Let's pause. Because moments like this don't just trend and disappear. They reprogram how stories are remembered. One clip reopened a chapter people believed was sealed, and whether you like it or not, that changes the conversation permanently. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Does this footage actually shift your understanding? Or is the internet doing what it does best and stretching uncertainty into spectacle? Do you think truth was delayed? Or are we just watching history get remixed in real time? Say it clearly, because vague takes don't survive here. Smash that like button like it owes you an explanation. Subscribe like you already know another leak is loading in someone's drafts. And hit notifications. Because silence after moments like this usually means something bigger is being lined up behind the scenes. This channel doesn't chase panic. We trace patterns. When narratives crack, when timelines get messy, when settled stories suddenly feel unfinished, that's where Rap Shocker steps in. No sugarcoating, no blind hype, just sharp breakdowns that cut through noise. Remember, history doesn't always change loudly. Sometimes it shifts with one forgotten clip and 1,000 unanswered questions. And when the next update drops, you don't want to hear about it secondhand. Stay locked in. Stay questioning. Because on Rap Shocker, the truth doesn't whisper, it hits. Doesn't whisper, it hits.